I was born in Cairo in 1943 at 629 Pyramid Court. And I grew up in the projects, and went to school in Cairo, Washington grade school, Washington junior high, and Sumner High. And uh, we grew up in a neighborhood where we didn't even know that we was poor, man, when we was there, man, you understand? Because we always had something to eat or something like that, See, back then, it was like this, in order for a woman to get help back then, you understand, the man had to leave the house so she could get help, and all that stuff. My father was a puzzle reporter on the train. He had to go through all kind of abuses and racist statements and all that stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like they would call him boy and stuff. Him, Robert Robertson, Preston Ewan's father, and several more people, they was puzzle reporter on the train. If you know anything about A. Philip Randolph, you would know about the puzzle reporters. So, black stayed on one side of town and white stayed on the other side of town, And, like on the other side of the project, it was a clinic, then there was a TB sanitarium over there where that nursing home used to be. Then my grandmother used to live on the other side. That was my father's. My father's name was Harvey McNeil. It was a Coca-Cola plant down there on 8th and Cedar. And we used to go down there and watch them make the little Coca-Cola bottles, And, the show wasn't nothing but a dime, you know what I'm saying, go to the show. It was a gym and the Lincoln Theater, in Cairo, Most of the blacks was downtown, then way uptown on 40th Street and all up there, you understand, And, on the other side of Poplar and all that. And then it was a place on 13th Street. They had two towers. They had the Ways, they owned two towers. Then they had one up on 34th Street. It was called the Hotel, And a lot of entertainers, they used to come through Cairo, man, you understand, because they couldn't stay in the hotel. They had to stay down at the Roslyn, It was a little rooming house called the Roslyn. Many entertainers that came through town, like Isaac Hayes and Muddy Waters, B.B. King, and all them, they came through Cairo, And, one of my friends, he played with Isaac Hayes. His name was Junior Johnson. And he played drums and everything. Then Lil Walter, he had a band. He's a traveler, Lightfoot, and all the rest of them. Homer and Mayfield and them, they had bands and all this stuff. And Lightfoot, he had a thing. He could run up a wall and turn a flip. You understand? You understand? Man, it was a lot of history here, man. It was a lot of people that came from Cairo, man. They did great things, But back then, if you look at the history of Cairo, it's a dying place right now, But it's people, man, that went and did great things, man, And you just cause it's in a mess right now, with poor housing and all this other stuff, It was so many people here, man, you understand, when we growed up, like in the project, if you might got a whooping from a neighbor, you understand, they'll go home and you get another whooping, man, you understand, Yeah. And we had midwives back then. You used to deliver the babies and all this stuff, Our neighborhood was good, man. It wasn't all that fighting and stuff, man. You understand? Everybody, they worked together, man. Try to survive. You understand? We had coal bins back then. You understand? You had to go and put coal in the stove and all this stuff. And I know you don't know nothing about going out there priming the pump and all that, and moving the toilet from one place to another. You understand? Yeah. And then like growing up in Cairo, man, everybody used to meet on 14th Street. We just go to the field and chop cotton and everything. I feel cheated now because you know what? We work 10 hours a day for $5, man. $5. Yeah. And then the biggest employee was the hotel down there where Southern Bank is at. Right there. It was a big old hotel right there. And like you work all week for $30, down there washing dishes and all that stuff. And that's how we made our money. What I'm saying, get little odd jobs like that. See, like that's what the struggle started about, man. Like we could shop in these stores, but it wasn't no blacks working in there. You understand? And like the struggle started. You understand? Where we spend our money, we wanted to be able to work there too. You understand? And so we started an economic boycott on them. You understand? To bring jobs and equality and everything. And then like when they built Highway 57. What I'm saying? We had brothers like Junior Williams and Elihu and people like that. They would teach people how to do concrete and all this stuff. You understand? See, I worked on Highway 57 when it came through here. You understand? Because they bypassed Cairo and went around. And like in the project, like it has always been ran with poor management, man. You understand? Because like the houses, man. You understand? Like up in Elmwood, when water come in, you understand, it would flood up under the houses and all this stuff. Sometimes we would see big rats used to come out, man. Yeah. We should go to Reverend W.M. Vaughn's church, man. We had to go to church every Sunday, man. And then you didn't play in your church clothes, man. You take them off, man. You had church shoes, man, and you got street shoes, man. It was mandatory that you go to church, you understand? We had our problems, you understand? Like you would know a racist, then, you understand, better than you would now because, they'll come and pat you on your back, man, and stab you at the same time, you understand, now, you understand, because, like, you would know where you stood with people, man, because, like a lot of times when you go to a store, they wouldn't give you your money in your hand, they would put it on the counter, keep from touching you understand, and stuff like that. I participated, man, because like it was something that I believed in. You know what I'm saying? Something you believe in, you would die for. You understand? And I learned a lot from my brother and my best friend, Reverend Cohen. You understand? Like we all went to school together. We growed up together, and we traveled together. And like I never would have seen what I have seen. You understand? If I had got in the struggle, I got a chance to travel to New York, everywhere, Columbia University, and all this stuff, And like I went to California, I went to Atlanta, and everywhere, man. You understand? I met people that ordinary people would never have met. What started here? You understand? It was the thing where people, they wanted to have a decent life for their kids, man. You understand? Like when they finished school, that there was no jobs or nothing, that was paying. You understand? Even today, we got about 3 or 4 business, man. You understand? Black business. You understand? And like all the jobs go to West Singer or some other contractor from out of town. You understand? And like GNL, you understand, that's a business. Mouse Heating, and then you got Wesley Construction. You got a Purchase Construction. You understand? But the major big jobs go to other companies, man. You understand? Just like when they tore down that building, how many blacks did you see working? You didn't see no blacks over there working. You understand? When major jobs come, you can go on the highway right down here. When you see them working on the highway, how many blacks do you see? Man, they had blackballed me, man. You understand? I had to go to Milwaukee to work, man, because I never would be quiet. You understand? And I went against Cairo Public Utilities. You understand? Because you know what? With the high rate of utilities, man, we found out, man, they was making big money, man. All the executives, they was making big money, man, and charging us, man, $500 and $600, man. You know what I'm saying? They control the whole economics of what's going on down here. The fondest memories, man. It was our school, man. Something to have, man. You understand? And the friendship, man. You know, we got friendship, man. That's been over 50 and 60 years, man. You understand? A friendship, man. People that we growed up together, and we all come together. You know, every time they come in town, we all get together, man, and have a big barbecue and stuff, man. You know, it's people that you growed up with, man. You know, they're just like family, man. You know, they may not be blood, but you know, they're family. You know. Oh man, I had fun when I was young, man. You understand? You know, we used to go up on 23rd and Poplar, man. There was a place called Booger and Chad and Chew. You understand? And Booger, he used to make some hamburgers, man. You understand? Them hamburgers was good, man. Good as I don't know what. And you know, like we would go up there, man. It was something like a little dance hall right across from Sumner High. We used to be up there partying and all this stuff, man. You know, we had fun, man. You know, growing up. You know, we had disagreements and stuff like that, but we would always come together and be friends at the end of the day. We had several people that had restaurants and things like that, but we had Napoleon, barbecue, you understand, and that was on 13th Street. We had the Wades. You know, they had both of the taverns, you understand. Then they had a tavern out in Future City. There wasn't no bathroom out there. They had to go out there by the fence. You understand? Yeah. Well, I used to get an ear in music, man. You understand? So the preacher was singing. They were singing a song in church. And man, you know, like they had just bought Little Rose, man. They started singing, man, and the preacher stopped preaching, man, and told me to sit on the front row and hum. You understand? The church played a big part in my life, man. You understand? Because you know, like, like my thing is universal spirituality. If you know anything about universal spirituality, it encompasses a whole lot. They're not just in one place, you understand, because your spirit comes from within your heart and your mind and soul. Because somebody can feel you, man, when you walk in the room, if you're in the thing. All you got to do is walk in the room, man, you understand. You know, a fool going to be a fool. A monkey going to be a monkey. A liar going to be a liar. You understand? You know, I know I talk too much. My fondest memory, man, they was making pallets on the other side of the project, man, and I got a 1954, and man, that was the first car I ever had, man. You understand? And man, I used to drive it from over there to Burkhart's. You understand? I had two jobs, you know, and driving that car, man, and everybody else was walking. I would pass by and blow, man. You understand? And look at, we didn't have no tent, so I put some paint on the windows, on the side windows. Yeah. This is honest to God's truth, man. You understand? The community in Cairo, man. You understand? You know, it's like this, man. You know, like. They done scavenged the whole community, man. All right. Back in the 80s, what they did, they shot all kind of drugs in the community to try to break up the struggle, man. You understand? And then when Bill Clinton he started that 3 strikes you out. It's people, man, that's still in jail for their 3 strikes you out, man. They broke up a lot of families, man. A lot of families, man, you understand? I'm taking my head off to all the brothers and sisters that's still in there, man. Because 3 strikes you out, man, for nonviolent crimes, though. You understand? You know? And, you know, like, we got a lot of brothers and sisters, man, that's still in jail, man, you know, for nonviolent stuff, man. You understand? That was in the struggle, that is still in jail, man. You know, things like that, man. Justice system has never been fair to black folks. You understand? You know, I have always been a spokesman, man, of that, man. You understand? They never called me for jury duty, under no circumstances. You understand? Look here. Look at today. We got a felon, man, with 36 counts, man. He's gonna be the president. I seen the time that a felon couldn't even vote. You understand? And yet it's still, all right. You know, back in '43, you know who was president, don't you?
43?
Yes, yes. That's when I was born. You understand? And we went through him. We can go through this trouble right now. You understand? Because you know what? I believe that there is something coming way beyond what he can put up on us. You understand? You know, we done went through trials and tribulations all our lives, man. You understand? We had to fight, and we still fighting for our civil rights. We still fighting for a right to be a human being. You understand? Right here in America. You understand? You understand? All right. People back there, man, they was family, man. They was family. And you could go to anybody's house, man, and eat, man, because, you know, we had people, man, that would feed. You know, everybody cared about everybody, man, you understand? But now, man, people are so divided now, man, you understand? You know, if we would pick up something, man, and try to hurt our brother, man, our parents would whoop our butts, man, you understand? You know? That was a no-no back then. But now, man, you understand, you know, like you got kids raising kids. You understand? You know, and they trying to be their friend instead of their parent. You understand? You know, and you know, like, see, I'm from the old school. You understand? I put a whooping on their ass, school. You know. All right, this is what happened, you understand? Just like on the scatter sites where I stay right down the street, you understand? All right, you know, like they are trying to renovate the scatter sites and all this stuff, you understand? But yet still, they want to move the people out, and then look here, they call themselves building a building over here that. If they're doing it with machines and technology, you know, and all this stuff, and it taking that long to put up one building, and back in our days, all the little Egyptian houses, man, we built them from ground up, man. I worked on each one of them little Egyptian houses, and it was with Richard Grisby in there, man. And we put them houses up, man. All them houses that we built, they right across the street over here. We built all them houses, man, from ground up, poured the concrete, put the frame up, and all this other stuff. You know, we was taught how to do certain little things like that, you know. But they got a machine trying to build buildings and all this stuff. And, you know, all right. It was so many families that it got messed up, you understand? And they had to leave their kids with the grandparents and all this other stuff. And then you know, like you know, anytime you got something going that's good for the people, you understand, you know, because, you know, when they shot drugs in the community, man, you understand, it raped the whole community. It raped the whole generation of people's out, you know what I'm saying? And then this next generation, they lost. They didn't know what the hell to do, you understand? You know, if your mother and father was gone and you just raising yourself, you understand? And you ain't got no kind of, you know, yes. I know a lot of people that was affected because, you know, drugs don't discriminate, you understand? You know, and, you know, like, when you see a crackhead, you understand, you know, that's a sickness. That's a sickness, you understand? And then when you see people's families being tore apart, you understand, you know, and you know, like it affects generation and generation after, you understand, because people, they begin not to give a damn about a human life, you understand, you know. They say, well, ain't no hope for me and all this stuff, you understand. But there is always hope, you understand, by trying to get some kind of recovery and stuff, you understand. You know, here we is. We got people's, man, right here in Cairo, man, you understand, that's homeless, you understand. All right, I done sent a lot of people down to the women's shelter and everything. They say they can't get in because they wasn't beat up. You understand? If a person ain't got nowhere to go, they should be able to go to a shelter. You understand? Look here, and here we got air relief. You understand? They supposed to be helping too, man. You understand? You know? Why would these organizations, you understand, just do whatever they want to do when they supposed to be in trying to help people, man? You know? They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. You understand? You know? It's all right to get somebody a little fruit, vegetables, and stuff like this, but look here, no, just like for instance, this place over here on Commercial, you understand? You know, they got a little cleanup tree program over there, you understand? I've been trying to tell brothers, go over there, man, you understand? Don't be hanging up on the corner. Go there and get a job and all this stuff. $17 an hour, man, you understand? You know, see, like, I've been the kind of person, man, I'll speak up, man, when won't nobody else speak up. You understand? You know, and I've been put out of places, man, you understand, that, you know, if I could be in church, if somebody's saying something wrong, I'm gonna ask a question, you understand? You know, and I've always been that way. I got blackballed with 773, man. I couldn't even work it out of 773. I had to go up to Milwaukee before I could work, man, you understand? I was a master laborer because, you know, like, the man come out and tell us what he need done. I tell everybody else, hey, he told us, we gonna do this, we gonna do this. I did that for 27 years, man. I never was tired. So I used this instead of my back. You understand? I don't think I can bring it up today, man, you understand? Because you know, like back then, man, you understand, you know, we was the first to get hired and the first to get laid off when the work got easy, and then you know, like they would hire, they would let the white guys go on another job. You understand? Anytime the work was hard, they would hire us, but when the work got easy, we got laid off. You understand? You know, and just like when we built that school in the back of Meridian, you understand? You know, me, Skerlock, and you know, all the brothers over there, man. We was a lot of brothers, man. We worked over there, you understand? But we did most of the hard work, and then when the work got easy, then we got laid off. Here we was making $5,000 a year. They was making $17,000 and $18,000 a year. So I filed so many lawsuits against them, man, you know, and everything. I got stacks and stacks of paper, man, where I put a thorn in their side. I made them spend thousands and thousands of dollars, man. So they blackballed me, you understand? You know, man, they were glad when I retired. No. See, I'm the one that helped a whole lot of people. You know, like if I was working, I would help a lot of people get in the union, you understand? You know, so they could make money just like I was making money, you understand? You know, I done bought 2 or 3 houses, ain't living in either one of them, you understand? You know, I work with Richard Grisby, I work with Tyrone Coleman, you understand? You know, with the NAACP and other things like that, you know. We celebrate our summer high reunion, you know, Cairo High reunion, you know, up at the park. You know, they used to have that every year. But most of the older folks, they done deceased, you understand, you know. You know, they have a celebration for the schools, you know, summer high reunion. We had some of the best basketball teams, man. Our football team wasn't nothing. We had a lot of people, man, that could play good music, man, and sing and stuff like this, man. You know, they went away and did very good. You know, I was born here and I'm gonna die here, and because yeah, you know, just simple as that. You understand? Because there's no place like Cairo, man. See, I know everybody, man. You know, like I done had a letter come to my house without no address. What I would want, man, you understand? You know, it would be for them to realize, man, you understand? Don't just let this place go down, man. You understand? Because you know you can take nothing and make something out of it. You understand? By putting mirrors on the walls down there, man, and teaching people, man, how to be self-sufficient, man. Because we ain't got no tax base, Ain't no tax base here. Don't nobody own no property, man. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no tax base. So, everything gonna fail without a tax base. You understand? I think in the near future, man, that school gonna be gone, man. You understand? They're gonna put Mounds and Cairo together, man. You understand? Because ain't no tax base. You need some kind of tax base, man. You need some kind of business or something. You understand? Cairo got a lot of history though, but without a tax base, nothing is going to happen. It's a lot. You got Magnolia, man. You got a lot of stuff here, man. You understand? That's history, man. Just like after they tore down that high rise, if you put mirrors on that wall, everything that's happening in Cairo, you'd be surprised the people that would come. Historical mirrors, man. You understand?
Oh, murals. Okay.
Mirrors.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I suggested that at one of the meetings, man, and it got swept up under the rug. You understand? Because like anytime you try to bring something, because we used to go on the riverfront and burn up old wood that them washed up and all this stuff. We used to try to keep the riverfront clean, man. They had a thing, man, where they would have a cleanup, out of everybody's yards, man. You know what I'm saying? They don't do that no more. When you come in Cairo now, you see nothing but all ran down buildings and all this stuff. You understand? And the thing about it, if they would tear down them buildings and just let people get the land and build houses and stuff, get campers or trailers on them, Cairo past history, man. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna always have history, but the future seemed kind of bleak, man. You know what I'm saying? Because we had a store called Rise, and it couldn't rise off of grants, man, because there's no tax base, man. You understand? Most of the people's here, man, they getting some kind of assistance, man, Social Security, pensions or something like this. You understand? This is a place for people like me. You understand? Like. I done retired and everything, you understand? And I ain't going too far. I ain't jumping too high now, you understand? You understand? And I'm comfortable with the way I'm living, you understand? It was right over there, St. Columbus Church over there. And we used to have Saturday rallies and everything, you understand? And speakers used to come in from all over the country and speak. You understand? And then on 12th Street, it was a church right there on the corner where that little picture's at. You understand? And if you ever get a chance, ride by the project and see that little statue they got on the corner of 12th Street. You understand? It's got a lot of slavery things on it. Because like it was a graveyard out there in the project a long time ago, and Ida B. Well on 16th Street right over here, where I should stay at. You understand? She came here in 1902. You understand? Right after the hanging of this man. I tell you somebody you need to talk to, Preston Ewing.
That name keeps coming up.
Preston Ewing, man, he's a historian, man. Yeah. And he got all kind of facts and pictures and all this other stuff. Yes, he kneeled down, and I got books on that, and everything. And if you get a chance, try to go and talk to Claudia or Robin Cohen. Those are my best friends. Okay. Because like they can enlighten you on a lot of other things. Because Robin's name, Claudia and Charles, we all went to school together, and they can enlighten you up on a lot of things. Yeah. And Reverend Cohen, he wrote a book too, and man, it tells about a lot of the things that's going on to leaders that they might think that they done got so big, but they're gonna find out something. They're gonna bring you down. You understand? You might think you're sitting at the man's table, but what the man is trying to, if you get too smart, just like Kamala Harris, for instance, You understand? They didn't want no black woman to be no president, man. You understand? And you know that was all in the thing, man. You understand? Look here, I think Biden could have kicked Trump's butt, man. You understand? I honestly do believe that. You understand? Because you know what, man? When you look at John Lewis, man, you understand? He died trying to get voting rights and all this other stuff, man. You understand? Look here, you might think that we free. You understand? We here, we still fighting for our citizenship. You understand? You know, they got big old institutions, man, that ain't got nobody in. They can round, you know, just like they talking about rounding up all the illegal aliens and all this stuff. You understand? I say they are human beings, and they should be treated like human beings, man. You understand? You know, just like a long time ago when they put all them Chinese and Japanese in concentration camps and all this stuff, man. They can do us the same way, man. They got prisons, man, and all this stuff. Look, I found out one thing, man, during this struggle. You cannot fight the United States government. No kind of way up. Yeah, all right, when we was walking around with guns, you understand, they wanted to take our guns, but now they can go in the White House, you understand, and with guns and everything else, you understand. Now, if that had been black folks go there, man, it would have been a bunch of dead folks, man. And he talking about getting them amnesty, man, you understand, you know. I wish you see all the burning. This is God's way of telling people, you better get right. And then you got ice storms and all this stuff, you understand? But look here, it's going to all come out in the wash, man, you understand? It's going to all come out in the wash, you understand? You know, you know, I told you when I was born, you know who was president back then, you understand? We lived through that, you understand? Because you know what? Why you think they throw away the scraps to us, and we made a meal out of it? Yeah. You understand? And we still here. Still here. You understand? We went through trials and tribulation. You understand? Yet I fall, but yet I rise. I just want to say one thing, man. You understand? I pray for those who lost everything, man. You understand? And all those who ain't got no lights today, man. And people, man, that's locked up unjustly. And you talking about letting them people out of jail that raided the White House and all that stuff. You understand? And you're immune to all kind of injustice that you're gonna put on people. You understand? You know, when I sat in the courtroom, man, I see somebody trying to judge me. Who is you to judge? You understand? Can't nobody judge me but him. If he done forgave me, can't nobody else say nothing. I would say. Try to get all the knowledge and get some kind of trade and things, because you know what, that artificial intelligence is going to take everything you got if you don't know how to do something. You remember that. I might be dead and gone, you understand, but I want you to remember that. That artificial intelligence, man, is doing everything now, man. Even at the hospital, man, you're talking to a robot that's going to come and bring your medicine and take your blood pressure and all this stuff. You understand? Back in the cotton fields now, they ain't got nobody picking cotton. They got machines. Mm-hmm. You understand? You know, artificial intelligence. They got things, man, that's going to be way beyond our knowledge. You understand? Why you think they trying to get to the moon? They done messed up the earth. See, I think way out the box, man, not in the box.